What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about a Red Dead Redemption remake rumor. These, as always, need to be taken with a grain of salt, but this seems absolutely incredible. I'm going to read over the article, actually, from Game Rant, and they go through basically what was talked about, where it came from, which, again, I stress this very, very much. You have to take it with a grain of salt because it does sound absolutely incredible. Before I go into this, I will say I want this to be real. I think it's definitely possible, although I'm not 1,000% sure that this thing is legit. But again, let's go through what was said and then my kind of analysis on it. So let's just read through the article. We'll skip the first part. That is, unless the most recent Rockstar game leak is to believe. If true, it seems Rockstar Games will be announcing a complete Red Dead Redemption remake this year, with it set to release in Q1, Q2, 2020. Now, I think that's a typo. That should have said 2021, so it's next year, okay? Q1, Q2, 2021. That's big if so, but as with all these gaming leaks and rumors, it should be taken with a grain of salt. Like I always say, the post originates on 4chan, so it doesn't say much about the leaker's credibility, but stranger things have happened. According to the leaker, it's a complete remake of the original Red Dead Redemption 2's engine, so it's the first game with Red Dead 2's engine. It'll feature a few enhanced game mechanisms like better fishing and hunting, as well as new missions. This would be an interesting way to at least mention Arthur Morgan in the original Red Dead Redemption. As while it's obvious he was made for the prequel, many always thought it odd that he was absent from the first game. Furthermore, a few of the original VAs have been brought back, including John Marston's voice actor, Rob Whitehoff. I hope I'm saying that right. The leaker says the announcement will be sometime soon, with a release currently scheduled for early 2021, either Q1 or Q2. It's reportedly in development for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, although a recent magazine did confirm 38 games in the development for PS5. This remake was not one of them. That doesn't mean much, but we'll talk about that at the end. The leaker also mentions that Mexico expansion for Red Dead Online could be in the works in honor of the remake. When asked if it was basically DLC for Red Dead 2, the leaker denied this, saying it's a standalone full remake. It'll even include Undead Nightmare as it is being worked on by Rockstar India. Price has yet to be determined, but the leaker says he wouldn't be surprised if it were just $40. Finally, he also mentions it's in the late stages of development, so if true, all this lines up with where the remake would be. The leaker also states Grand Theft Auto 6 won't get announced until summer 2022, which loosely lines up with various reveals and speculations about the game thus far. And if the leaker is telling the truth, then this remake would be a good way to tide fans over. Okay, so obviously there is a lot of stuff there. I kind of want to pick a couple of the things that stood out to me when reading this. I did read this once before I recorded this video, just so I had made sure I read it all, but let's pick a couple things. Now, again, I want to give it as much credibility as I can, while and by saying that, what I mean is, like, I want to believe it, okay? I really do want to believe this is true, but I do want to kind of poke at a couple of the things that maybe make it not necessarily possible. So one of the first things is the fact that the GTA 6 thing, because you have to go with, okay, these leakers, they're basically, their reputation is built on whether they get things right or they get things wrong. Okay, and I've said that for a very long time. Maybe it's hypocritical in a way where, like, us YouTubers, right, we can talk about leaks and maybe our reputation doesn't get damaged because we're literally just reporting on what other people are saying. But these leakers, literally, whether you believe them or don't believe them, completely depends on if they're right on things. Okay, so in order to do that, you have to kind of, throw out maybe other things besides what you're mainly talking about. So what I mean by that is this GTA thing. The GTA thing, remember, we've heard reports that this game could be like a 2023, 2024 game. Remember, that was based off of, like, their financials, that they expect to put, like, more money in the marketing of that year than, like, any other year. I think actually equal to the year of Red Dead 2. So people were kind of saying, okay, well, if they're expecting to literally push marketing more, again, as much that year as they were with Red Dead 2, it must be for a brand new game, so GTA 6. So by him saying it's going to be announced in the summer of 2022, that doesn't mean all that much, because it's just going off of what other people have said. Now, again, technically it's brand new information, so he is kind of putting his stamp on that. But again, it is based off of things that we've already seen. And again, like with other things, I've talked about that with even Spider-Man leaks before, you got to be careful, because sometimes people that double down on other people's leaks, they take other people's leaks, they add it to their own to kind of make them more credible, but then they end up being found to be, just making it up, right? So you do have to, again, take it with a grain of salt. But again, listen, It sounds absolutely incredible. So it would be like Red Dead 2, but it would actually be Red Dead 1. That's absolutely insane, right? That's a really cool thing. It would have Undead Nightmare. You have to imagine it would have like a multiplayer mode as well, although it wasn't specifically mentioned here. Basically, and also they say that they're going to add brand new things. If you think about it, now what I will say is, again, it does make sense that they would do something like this. Again, like even the article says, to kind of hold fans over until GTA 6. There's nothing coming out from them big wise until GTA 6. So if you wanted to do a Red Dead remake, because you're not going to get Red Dead 3 probably another 4-ish years after GTA 6, right? So it's going to be a very, very long time until you get the next Red Dead Redemption. So it does make sense. You're seeing in the gaming industry with a lot of gaming developers going back, right? A lot of people going back doing remakes, a lot of them doing remasters. We even see with Mafia Trilogy where they're picking specific ones to remake, remaster, and when it comes to the first Mafia, what do we know? Well, they're kind of doing a brand new things. There's going to be new mechanics. There's going to be new like cutscenes added, right? So they're actually in small ways changing up the story, right? So there is definitely evidence to say like, hey, there are definitely other people out there. I've pitched on this channel a couple times, and on my second channel, the Mass Effect. If EA does a Mass Effect remaster, have they done, basically, did they know that Mafia, that Hangar 13, and that 2K was doing that? Because then could they do like, hey, why wouldn't Mass Effect 1 be a remake candidate, right? If you're going to remaster the Mass Effect franchise, why not remake the first game? Because it is pretty old. It's not as old as Mafia, but it is pretty old. And then the other two, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, maybe you could remaster those. You know what I mean? But with the next generation of consoles, you do open up the door where, hey, do we go back to get some of that stuff? We know Bluepoint is working on a game. Maybe it's a Demon Souls remake. Could we eventually get like a Resistance thing? Could we eventually get an Infamous thing? I think a lot of these things are definitely possible. So again, it doesn't sound overly crazy. It sounds like perfect. And by saying that, it's mainly because it's Red Dead, right? A game that we all really, really love, that first game, but then brought up the speed, right? The thing is this, and this is what I'll say, Red Dead 2 took so many steps, like higher than Red Dead, that even remaking 1, I don't think you'd reach some of the levels that 2 reached. Now, I don't know what the public opinion, like the actual public opinion is on like which of these two games is the best one. I think people will always have insanely fond memories of the first one. I think the first one may always be the more special game to people, although I think 2 may be, in terms of like what you can do in that game, and again, all of kind of like the new levels that game reached. I think that game wins out on that aspect, right? So in that way, if you remake the first game, are you ever going to reach the second game? You know what I mean? So basically, I'm trying to make the argument of, is it worth it? I think to a lot of people would be worth it. I think even to me, I really do think it would be worth it because this game is so special. What do you normally do with these remakes, or what games do you normally pick for remakes? Games that were very, very special to people. It's just going to be a little different for people, I think, to get used to games that came out not all that long ago, because, you have Crash, we've had Spyro, we've had Shadow of the Colossus. These were all games, especially, Spyro, Crash, Medieval, right? These are all games late 90s, early 2000s. We haven't really gotten games remade that were in the late 2000, like 2008 through 2010, or the early 2010s, right? We haven't gotten a lot of games. In fact, I don't think we've gotten any. But now we are. We've gotten obviously a lot of remasters, but we haven't really got any remakes. So again, it's a perfect situation. I think having the entire Red Dead being brought back up to speed, having additional things added to it, which I do think you'd kind of have to do. And obviously, again, they mentioned like different areas, different levels being kind of remade. It sounds perfect. Undead Nightmare, to me, I actually liked parts of Undead Nightmare more than the base Red Dead. I absolutely adore Undead Nightmare, and really actually have always wanted like an Undead Nightmare 2 for Red Dead 2. That's kind of like on my dream list that I would like to get. So to put all of those things together, to bring multiplayer maybe back, right? That would be a very, very cool thing. And then to have it next year, again, it does make sense, because it would have been, 2.5, 3 years after Red Dead 2. It would be 2 to 2.5 years before GTA 6. So it's literally kind of that middle game, right? That stopgap game in between both of these to kind of tide us over until the next GTA. So it makes a lot of sense. It sounds perfect. Maybe it sounds like too good to be true, but at the same time, it is kind of just taking what we know of Red Dead and just putting it all together, right? It's basically putting one of these game of the generations, like game of a lifetime that Red Dead was, and just bringing it back. So definitely makes sense. Really do hope it's true. The announcement, them saying that it's going to get announced soon. I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I don't know when they would do it. Obviously, that is such a big thing. And even though it is a game that already came out, it is so big on its own. Take-Two, right? Rockstar, all these companies are so big on its own. They don't need IGN. They don't need, any of the. They don't even need Summer Games Fest, right? They don't need these kind of events to do it. They could easily, and I feel like they probably would, just do it on their own. Although you maybe could see it at, like, say, a PS5 reveal event, or say like an Xbox, an Inside Xbox thing. I mean, what better way to show next-gen consoles than to say, hey, remember Red Dead? Well, here it is 2 generations later on our new console. Let's show you how it is. So I think, it could definitely happen. You could definitely shoehorn it in. It would make a lot of sense to announce it at somebody else's conference, but you don't need to. But either way, definitely going to be looking forward, hopefully, to this announcement sometime soon. Honestly, I have no idea when. It depends on when it would release. Obviously, quarter 1, quarter 2, that's the first half of the year. Okay, so that's obviously January through June of next year. So you got to imagine it would have to be somewhat soon if they're going to do that. So, guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Are you guys excited for the possibility of this? Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's maybe made up? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And thank you all so much for watching. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I hope to see you all on the next video.